Please welcome back to the mountain stage, Ms. Tracy Nelson.
Larry Groce, mountainstage.org is where you can hear the show if it isn't on your public radio station. And we're happy, as always, the many times she's been on, to have Tracy Nelson on the show. And if you don't know Tracy Nelson, shame on you, because she is a person...
You're in good company.
Yeah, she's a person who's been making recordings, well, since when? Late 60s?
Early 60s. My first record I made when I was 19, and it was in about 1963 or 64.
It's hot like habanero, sweet like cherry wine. I'm so glad he loves me, love me all the time. He's my little baby, sweet as he can be, and all the love he got sure enough belong to me. If you hear me howling, calling on my darling,
Well, let's talk about this for a moment, because this is your latest project, and Victim of the Blues. Well, you were a victim recently of a tragic fire in your house. While you were working on this record?
No, we were done with the record.
Okay.
That's why we thank the Burns Fire Department, because it was done. It was mixed.
And it was in there?
It was in the computer in the studio. And
Oh,
really,
my.
the studio is a computer anymore.
Yeah.
And when we were half a block from the fire station, so they got there really fast. But it was an old house, and they just said, as it turned out, they were wrong, but they said, we're just, we're going to just have to let this go. If we had to say something, what would you say? And the living room where all my favorite stuff was already toast. So it wasn't, if they'd asked me, I might have said the living room first, but because of that, Mike just said the studio, and they broke out the front window, got the computer out, got all, all the, the stuff out.
Man, that would have been...
It would have been a disaster.
Yeah, no joke.
And we didn't know really till for several days, because there'd been, severe heat and smoke in there, but, nothing was damaged. My laptop melted, and I got the hard drive out of it. Thank you, Steve Jobs.
calling on my darling.
In a sense, you went back to your own roots of the blues.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got some tunes on here by some great seminal blues players. And I didn't even know until I read this bio. I've known you for many years, but we never talked about this subject. That you got to meet like Howlin' Wolf and Muddy Waters back in Chicago. Is that correct?
Chicago. I mean,
yeah. How did that come about?
Well, when I made that first record for Prestige, it was a folk blues record, and we were looking for a harmonica player, and a friend of mine from Madison who played in Mike Bloomfield's band said, you want Charlie Musselwhite.
Yeah.
I was thinking Paul Butterfield, because that's the only person I'd heard of.
Right.
And he said, no, you want, and I took his word for it. We got Charlie, and we became kind of sweethearts, and I'd go down and visit him. That's kind of when I ceased going to college.
Yeah.
In Chicago quite a bit, and he was just welcome and known in all the clubs on the South Side, and we'd go in, and he would just introduce me to people. And
Well, I know it's a sin. Oh, it's a sin. You stood and watched me from the side, and you hung your head and cried. Well, I know it's a sin. Oh, it's a sin.
I've told this story before, but it's my favorite story, and it's, I'll tell it till I die. I'll be an old toothless woman telling this story, but Charlie and I went to Pepper's one night, and I was 19, and you had to be 21, so I had a fake ID. this girl named Marion Shulo, who lived in my dorm, gave it to me. And we walked up to the door, and the bouncer's looking at my ID, and this is a woman with short hair. I've always had long hair, but he, I don't think he was too concerned. But Otis Spann walked up and said hi to Charlie. Charlie began to introduce me to him as,
The wrong name.
Yeah, and the guy's still looking at my ID like this. So I stuck out my hand real fast and said, Marion Shulo, nice to meet you. Yeah. So then we went back into the club, and we sat down at a table with Otis and his wife and Muddy Waters. And so I'm sitting at a table with Otis Spann and Muddy Waters. Charlie introduces me to Muddy by my own name.
Yeah, your real name.
And Otis said, I thought you said her name was like Mary or something like that. And so I explained, no, I was 19 and we had a fake ID, blah, blah, blah. They got up to do their next set, and the second song in, Muddy got up and said, I want to do this song for Charlie's Woman, and did 19 years old. I mean, come on.
That's great.
I can dine out on that for
No
the
joke.
rest of my life.
That is pretty classic right there.
My man left this morning just about 4:30. My man left this morning just about 4:30. He left a note on his pillow, said he couldn't use me no more. So I grabbed my pillow, turn over in my bed. Ooh, I grabbed my pillow, turn over in my bed. And I cried about my baby till my cheeks turned cherry red.
In one weekend, I would hear Muddy Waters, Howlin' Wolf, Junior Wells, Buddy Guy, Johnny Shines, Johnny Young, Big Walter. I mean,
Yeah.
just everybody.
One weekend?
Because they would all either be playing together or in various clubs on the South Side. They really weren't touring a lot yet. Yeah. It was after Bill Graham started bringing them out to, to the Fillmore and introducing them to young people that they became more national acts. But in the early 60s, you could go to the South Side of Chicago and hear practically anyone you could think of in that genre, and it was just an amazing time.
Ooh, it's awful hard to take it. It's such a bitter pill. If the blues don't kill me, my man and mystery men will.
You were telling me a moment ago, there's somewhere on YouTube, maybe you can find this out here, where you're singing background doing steps to Jimi Hendrix?
Yeah, well, we did a festival in 1970 in LA, but at the end of the show, we all got together and did a kind of a big jam. So it was me, Lee Oscar, Jimi Hendrix, Buddy Miles was on drums. Who else? I guess that's enough.
Without love, I had nothing. Without love, I had nothing at all. I had conquered the world, but what did I have without love? I had nothing at all.
But it's a great sounding record. If you like the blues, you'll like it. If you like great singing, you'll like it too. There's nothing like the voice of Tracy Nelson. You'll hear her on the show today. And if she comes your way, then go out and see her in person, because you won't believe what you hear.
Conquered the world, but what did I have without love? I had nothing.
Thank you very much.
Miss Tracy Nelson right there.